really have to do to make me feel at home.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well put. I don't know why I said that, but anyway, the first time I seen you perform was at the living room sessions with Ryan Sinclair. Her band, All the Little Pieces, was there. Hybrid the rapper was there. Heather Parrish was there. Palmer Tolly was there, as well as other local talent. And I seen you perform, and you performed a song on that set, and the name of the song was called "Take Me to Olympus," which is off
Yeah.
your album, which is coming soon. What was it like being a part of that show?
Uh, it was it was different. Um, because usually when you kind of okay, I think you kind of have to think of it as like I use it in basketball terms, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you play in like a league and you have a team that you play with, you know who's going to be ready to post up at any moment. You know who's going to cut a screen for you. You know where other people are going. But when you play a pickup game, when you're on the street with your friends, you have to kind of figure out. Well, I've never played with these people before, so you have that first bit of time where you're trying to figure out what everybody's going to do, what everybody's strengths and weaknesses are, and really kind of figuring out how you're going to incorporate yourself into what's going on. So that's kind of what it was like for me. I really was trying not to overplay anything, and I was not trying to, I was just trying to do stuff that was going to make everything else sound good. Because you had two really great singers, Ryan and Heather, who were belting out, and it's easy to overplay anything. It's like just because you have an opportunity to do something doesn't mean you should take it. And so for the most part, for me, it was just interesting because we were playing in the living room, and we were playing for people who weren't in that living room, who were all over the world. So, that was a really interesting, unique experience.
I definitely enjoyed the show, and just a few weeks ago, I interviewed All the Little Pieces, and I told them specifically, like, when they say the living room sessions, they are literally performing at a living room. What people saw on Ustream, it was streamed on Ustream. That was a actual living room. Uh, just for the record, I enjoyed the show, and I'm a fan of yours. You did a good job. All the artists involved did a good job, and more importantly, it was all for a good cause. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and the song that you performed is called "Take Me to Olympus." Talk about that song. What's the song exactly about?
Uh, well, the record itself is called "All My Colors Are Blind," and the kind of concept of it is that all the songs were written in this 3-year period that began in the aftermath of my uncle Steve passing away, and subsequently a relationship ending, kind of all at the same time. And that song was actually one of the more recent songs that was written on the album. And I was talking to this lady, and we had some things happen, and I thought that there was going to be more than that, and it ended up not really being that way. But I don't know. I feel like I got a good song.
Hey man, it was definitely a unique record, and I liked it, man. Like you sent me 4 songs, and I played 2 of them. Actually, I played "Take Me to Olympus," and I also played "Debraun Tears."
Uh-huh.
And I enjoy them both, man. Like it's just something about your sound, and some you got some Jimi Hendrix in there. You got some Lenny Kravitz in you. It's definitely a unique sound. Considering that we don't hear a lot of African Americans that does the rock genre. I mean, you being an artist of that genre, like, how do you feel about the lack of African Americans that's not into doing that genre? It's like they more into the hip hop and the R&B genres, but you being different. Like, how do you feel about the lack of African Americans that doesn't pursue the type of music that you do?
All right, well, first of all, I just want to go ahead and say, if I begin to ramble on this, feel free to cut me off. This is a dangerous question to ask me.
Yeah.
Well, so I'm originally from the San Francisco Bay Area, right? And music has been around me my entire life. My mom used to take me to school. We used to listen to the Melvin and Doug Williams duets record, right? And so I grew up listening to gospel, but when I was young, I was really, really into like Elvis and James Brown. And, as I got older, my musical taste kind of changed. But I remember when I got into the Beatles, this is when I first heard the term Oreo, and it was something that I didn't really quite understand where it was coming from, because there's plenty of people who listen to the Beatles. I don't understand what this is. Then I got into Jimi Hendrix. And then I got into Sly and Family Stone. And then I got into Funkadelic. And it was once I got into Funkadelic and Fly and Family Stone and Hendrix that I was like, okay, here are these artists of color that are doing this, and nobody says anything about what they did. Nobody says, they have this particular sound. And when I was younger, I was that kid that was really annoying to all my other friends when hip-hop songs would come out, because I would be picking out all the samples. So to answer your question, it's very interesting because there's another artist in Lexington named Chris Sullivan, and he has this song called Telecaster, which is dedicated to Les Paul. And one of the lines in the song, is that you have these people coming around like Bo Diddley and Chuck Berry never existed. And it's something like that. And, the thing is that rock is an art form that came out, rock and roll is an art form that came from R&B, it came from blues by people of color. So I don't really know why there is such a stigma of the black guitar player or of, people who are doing music that can be classified as rock and roll or punk or whatever. I mean, because one of the best punk bands I've ever heard were these three brothers from Detroit called Death. There's actually a documentary on them on Netflix called a band called Death. And, there were these three brothers that were from Detroit, and, they were basically, imagine like the Ramones and the MC5 and all these other bands, but like focusing on the instruments, and the lyrical content was all there. And so this is not like a new thing. And I don't really understand why there is such a, why there is kind of such a dissonance as far as like what people not going towards that. But for the most part, I feel like mainstream music in general has been extremely dubbed down, and this is going to hip-hop and country and pop. So, I don't know. I do the best I can to continue the legacy that was, that was started by many different people of color and many people who are not of color that also made important contributions to music.
I totally hear you, man. I definitely feel where you're coming from. It's definitely a stigma for sure, but it's nice to see that people like yourself and the other people that you mentioned showing that, hey, y'all can do it, and y'all do it very well. And, I started off as a hip-hop fan when I started listening to music in general. And as I got older, I started listening to all types of music. I listened to pop, I listened to rock, I listened to country, I listened to jazz, blues, soul. And not only I just listen to the current music, but I listen to 70s and 80s music. It's just music is definitely a form of expression. And what y'all do is just y'all impact people's lives. And an artist like yourself, I mean, it's very appealing to hear you and what you do and and how high intellect you are as far as you not just a good artist, you're a good person. You definitely bring a lot to the table, and I'm definitely looking forward to this new album that you got coming out. And I thank you for just doing what you do, man. And you keep on doing it. You keep on pursuing it. And as I said, man, I'm already a fan of yours from the living room sessions, and I will be a fan moving forward. So just thank you. I'm just saying this from a fan perspective for what you do, man.
Well, man, I appreciate it. I really appreciate you having me on the show and everything. And when you were talking, I was just thinking about something that Dave Chappelle said recently. He had this interview that was posted in I think it might have been the New York Times. But one of the things that he said was, the biggest weakness of an artist is apathy. And I think that people can get so caught up in, people say, oh man, you're so great, you're this, and that, and don't think about the platform that they have and the ability in which they have to be able to give back to other people who are in need. I've dedicated a lot of my life to to helping make the people around me better people, helping make myself a better person. I work with kids, and that's something that I do that I'm very passionate about. And I think that it's so easy for an artist to not do anything and just write songs. And man, I think that we have an ability to uplift people, and I think that that's one of the things that you got to do. Like you have that job where you might have to fill out that quarterly, the quarterly paperwork, but the rest of the month you get to be cool. Well, that's kind of what it is. I feel like for artists is, we were given the ability to create, and we worked hard to be able to be, to build a craft. At some point, you have to take what you've given and give it back. And I think that's an extremely important thing.
I totally agree, man. I totally agree. For this album, when can people expect it? When you have a date as far as when is it going to be coming out?
Well, I have a tentative release date that I can't announce yet because it's not official. But I can say that it will be out in October. I'm in the process of having my website finished, so you can keep up with that on DebraunThomas.com, or I'm also on Facebook. I have both a personal page and a fan page that I update pretty regularly, and when it gets close to the album releasing, I'll be posting a lot of that stuff. But October is the tentative time for me to release it.
Sounds good, man. I'm definitely looking forward to it. Debraun, it was great chatting with you. It was not only that, it was nice meeting you at the living room sessions, and hopefully I can see you again at a future show. Definitely once the album comes out. And thank you for your time, man, and continued success.
Hey, man, thank you so much for reaching out. It's one of those things, man, it takes a village. And, people who are doing their thing, you're not going to get anywhere if you don't link up with somebody else and do it together. So, man, I really appreciate, you having me on, and it was right back at you, man. It was really a pleasure meeting you at the living room session.
Absolutely, man. You have a great Labor Day weekend.
All right, you too, man. Thanks for having me.
All right, bye-bye. That was Debraun Thomas, my last guest of the